All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. My name is Heather Grant. I am one of the community admins here in the maintenance community by Upkeep. Thank you once again for joining us today. If you are not already a member of the maintenance community on Slack, we would love to have you join us. I will add the link in just a moment on how to sign up in the chat. Today I have with me Ricky Smith. Ricky is joining us for a presentation on how to make your maintenance planning and scheduling more effective. I am looking forward to learning a lot. The recording from our session today, as well as the slides that you see here, will be available in the maintenance community Slack group on Monday, along with a copy of the slides that you see here. Ricky, himself is also available to answer questions live in the Slack group. So please feel free to share the recording of this webinar or the invitation to Slack directly. And keep in touch with Ricky and follow up for some more questions. The final piece of housekeeping before we get started today, to answer or ask any questions of Ricky, please use the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen there. Go ahead and say hello. Let us know where you're joining from as well. Always love to hear from everyone. We will have time at the end of our presentation to answer any questions that come up, so please feel free to drop them in throughout the presentation or right at the end there. Anything we don't get to, we will answer offline in the community. That is all from me. Thank you, Ricky. Excuse me for my misspoke a minute ago. And I'll turn it over to you to get started.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Going to be a great presentation today. 7 ways to make your maintenance planning and scheduling more effective. This was not an easy one to put together because we really think about 7 ways to make it more effective. So did a lot of soul searching, thinking about my past and my experience and all. So here it is. Okay. I know what works. I'm going to show you what works. So first, we're going to start off with the question, expectations of maintenance planning and scheduling. So text in 1, expectation of planning and scheduling. Unsure, decrease in failures, effective utilization of maintenance labor, material parts, reduction in costs, less stress, question marks. And you can use more than 1 if you want to. You can say, okay, 2, 3, and 4, or whatever. Just
looks like we have some people typing. Ahmed says, no failure, less stress.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
More people typing. We'll just wait another couple of moments.
All right.
Andre says, smooth operation. You have decrease in failures, as well as number 3, effective utilization of maintenance labor, material, and parts. Another vote for number 3, effective utilization. More people joining on 3, so.
Yeah, that's probably it's a little bit of everything, I'm sure not. 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are all part of this, our expectations of it, what it should be. All right, so let's talk about first the root causes of equipment failures. One is the lack of repeatable preventive maintenance and corrective procedures. We need to have repeatable procedures. If I got 10 maintenance people, working for me, they're all first-class mechanics or whatever you want to call them, I should give them the same procedure and I should get the same outcome. Without having repeatable procedures, planning and scheduling, all you're doing is scheduling work. You're not making it a lot more effective by not having good repeatable procedures. Lack of discipline and maintenance work execution. People want to take a shortcut. That's why you need the procedure, step by step, how to do it, and initials on the side. Even if you've done it 100 times, I've told people many times, you think you know it all, and you may not. Just my personal experience, I a couple of times, maybe in my lifetime, I've walked out to my car and left my keys inside. That's the kind of memory lapse we may have sometimes that cause more problems. Lack of discipline, production, operating equipment to specification. We don't control it, but they cause a lot of equipment failures. Lack of effective maintenance, leading and lagging KPIs. If we don't measure something, we can't improve it. That's a fact. No formal process in planning and scheduling. They might say they do, but they really don't. Okay. No formal training and maintenance and reliability best practices for the critical players. I had a class last week, and that was one of the big ones on maintenance best practices people were pushing on. My leadership needs to hear this, and absolutely they do. So maintenance vision. So let's just say the maintenance vision for XYZ plant is to always provide a continuous operating facility through minimizing unscheduled downtime and by approaching maintenance as an investment with the goal of minimizing the cost over the long run. Okay, this was Alcoa Mount Holly. I took XYZ out of it. It was Alcoa Mount Holly that said this. And when I worked there, planning and scheduling was the crutch of everything working systematically, along with repeatable procedures, along with good PMs and so on. So objective of planning and scheduling, to optimize maintenance resources, labor, materials, parts, and increase wrench time. To optimize asset reliability through minimizing unscheduled and scheduled downtime. Okay, and to optimize costs. So if we look at typical maintenance costs versus world-class companies, so maintenance cost as a percentage of replacement asset value is the international standard. So typical organization, their costs are going to be from 3.5 to 9%. World-class is 2 to 3%. Material costs, 1 to 3.5% for typical. World-class, 0.25 to 0.75%. A lot of difference. We're spending a lot of money to get the reliability we get. So proactive maintenance planning and scheduling guiding principles. Maintenance planners focus on future work only. Today's issues are handled by the maintenance supervisor, lead person. Some of you may have heard me say this before. How do you know if you got a proactive planner? Call them on the phone and say, hey, I need a part right now. If the next thing you hear is a dial tone because you called the wrong number, then you got a proactive planner. There's no doubt. All work scheduled, which requires parts and material. So if it's scheduled and has parts and material, it's kitted in a secure area. All plan and scheduled work is tracked through status codes, shown below. So RTS, ready to schedule. Parts are kitted, staged, secure. Awaiting parts, awaiting production, waiting, yearly shutdown, multiple things. You can have as many status codes you want. Then all work scheduled 1 week in advance, typically scheduled meetings held on Thursday for the following week with production, maintenance, and others as required. It can be contractors, safety, whoever you need. And anybody's going to influence that area could have an impact on that area with the maintenance schedule. Leading and lagging KPIs used to measure the planning, scheduling, and work execution process. So some best practice benchmark, schedule compliance, 80 to 90%. That's by hour, by day, not just by day. Do it sometime during that day, by hour, by day. Breaks to the schedule. Break to the schedule means when you go out to do the job and production says, hey, you can't have it right now. That's a break to the schedule. Come back in an hour. Come back in an hour. Nope, can't have it now. That's 2 breaks to the schedule. Okay. We got to get disciplined. When production agrees to a schedule on Thursday, the schedule's published on Friday, and depends on how your week is. Okay. This is the week in the US. On Monday morning, we should start that schedule. It should be in concrete. Okay. 90% of planned work. PM execution, 15% of labor hours. Results from PM. From the PM execution, 15% of work. PDM execution, 15%. Results from PDM is 35%. So we get a lot more work coming out of PDM if we use it right, if we use predictive maintenance correctly. Wrench time, a typical company that I've seen, 18 to 30%, which is not bad, but world-class wrench time is 55 to 65%. Say world-class company, 55%. I've seen one at 65%. Work order requirements, it's not an option. A work order is critical to ensure a planned scheduled work order is repeatable. Every job we do will be seen again. We will repeat it again. So why don't we write a procedure? So next time worst thing can happen is we modify the procedure, or we have breakdowns on the equipment. Then we can ask the planner to pull out the work order history and let's find out, do a root cause of the procedure. Is the procedure the problem, or was it equipment the problem? What work to be done? Got to know what it is. What work was done? After it's done, what did you do? Step-by-step instructions, step-by-step, initial on each step, actions required of the work, lubricate, torque, whatever those are. And then maintenance KPIs, making sure they're accurate. And that comes from these work orders being closed out accurately by themselves. Percentage of maintenance work assigned to reactive work, we need to know that. Proactive work, project work, these three things are, you can break them into more defined ways. I'm trying to be more humble here, but reactive work, I just call it emergency urgent work. Okay. Proactive work is our scheduled work, and we know what project work is. So some maintenance issues that a lot of companies have. Most maintenance staff in most companies work only 2 to 4 hours a day in wrench time, hands-on tool time, 2 to 4 hours. Why? Because the effective direct work is low, because they don't have effective planning and scheduling. It's caused by ineffective planning. It's caused of lack of effective planning, a lack of effective scheduling. 70-80% equipment failures are human induced, not using a torque wrench. Good Lord, man. How many times have we tightened something and someone says, tighten it a little bit more because it gets loose, right? And it may not be the torque wrench either. You might be using a torque wrench, but you haven't changed the fastener or the nut. Not knowing specification, not having the right part at the right time. Let me ask you this. How many of you have had a scheduled job and you go out and you didn't have the right part? Text it through to me. Let me know what it is. So just say what percentage of the time do you go out and not have the right part? You can't find it, or you have to look for it.
Waiting on some responses. There's one that says 35%, 30%.
That's about typical.
More than countable in all caps.
Don't tell us who you are, okay? I've been there. Anybody else? All right, we're gonna move on. Improperly handling and installing the bearings. I don't know if you realize, but when we touch bearings with our fingers, what we do is we put salt on the bearings, which, depending on what type bearings you have, on how you install them, it could cause corrosion and premature failure. Spinning a bearing, that's not a bearing that you're going to install on something is not supposed to be rotated until it is being lubricated. It does have some lubricant on it, but if it's under load, you're going to have a problem. No repeatable, effective PM corrective lube procedures like we talked about. So maintenance planning and scheduling impacts wrench time. I call it hands-on tool time or utilization time. So it's the time a maintenance person actually has their hand on a tool. Typical wrench time, 15 to 35%. World class, 55 to 65%. The wrench time is a measure of craft persons at work using tool in front of jobs. Wrench time does not include obtaining parts, tools, or instruction, or the travel associated with those tasks. It does not include traveling to or from jobs. That's why it's not 100%. World class is 55 to 65%. But think about it. If you start a job and you start the day, you get a work order, supervisor gives it to you, and he's like, "Where's the parts?" In the storeroom. Then you go to storeroom, you got to look for the part in the storeroom. How inefficient is that? And that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. It does not include time spent obtaining work assignments. That's why world class is 55 to 65 and typical is 15 to 35. I've seen some less than 15%. They're very few, but I have seen them. So let's go through a wrench time calculation, okay? So how's a typical maintenance day spent? Okay, you got 10 maintenance techs times 40 hours. So this is direct labor hours available, 400 hours. Indirect time, traveling from point A to point B. That's not wrench time. That's not a hands-on tool time. That's travel. Nothing wrong with it. Remember, it's 55 to 65 is world class percent wrench time. Looking for parts, 32. Out of those 400 hours, looking for tools, 28. Looking for information, 24. Waiting on production, 79. Hey, by the way, if you've seen this before, I'm sorry I'm showing it on here, okay? Just joking. Looking for maintenance leadership, 22. Travel to and from the job site, 67. Total indirect hours is 319 out of 400 hours. So direct labor hours equals 400 minus 319, okay, is 81. All right. So how bad are we? You know, it can be very bad. That's why we want to make sure if our indirect is 319 and our available is 400, we've got a big problem. And a lot of companies do, but you know, there's nothing wrong with it. We just got to get a plan to get out of it. Okay. So wrench time direct hours, 81 divided by total labor hours, you know, is 25%. Okay. So maintenance planning enables maintenance scheduling. Without scheduling, you know, without planning, maintenance scheduling is not going to work very well. So we have planning. We need repeatable procedures. We need, you know, special tools we need to identify. We need to identify the parts and material. Remember, every job that we do, we'll see again, why isn't the part already attached to this assignment? We should already know what that is if we've seen it before. Special tools and equipment history, you know. So then the job scope, okay. So we planned it, we scoped the job, we're ready to schedule. So in scheduling, we need to know the production schedule. We need to know the craft people's schedule. So if a craft person is going to be out that week, you know, vacation or whatever, not sick, that, you know, unless it's a long-term illness. Okay. But if you're going to be out on vacation, we're not going to count on that week. So I may only have 9 maintenance techs instead of 10. So that's all I'm going to focus on is 9, not 10, because I'm not going to live in a dream world. Work order priorities, big deal. You know, PMs, PDM work. Number 1 priority, preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance has to happen to mitigate the failures. Then maintenance crew schedule. You know, all of this with the crew, we're ready to make it happen. So maintenance plan work, this is SMRP best practices, is where this came from. Work that has gone through a formal planning process to identify labor, materials, tools, and safety requirements. This information is assembled into a job plan package and communicated to craft workers prior to the start of work. Without a good definition, everybody's got their own definition or understanding of what it is. I like to use SMRP metrics. If you remember SMRP, I recommend that you have a dictionary made up of those definitions. So when someone says, well, that's not planned work, so, well, let's look at our definition. And you can modify it some if you want to. So, you know, part of this is we start talking about, you know, planning and scheduling is critical to success, you know, precision maintenance. Planned work is so critical. So let's talk about maintenance scheduling. Maintenance scheduling is the when and involves assigning all required resources to perform work at the optimal time to facilitate the most efficient execution of the work. Again, this comes from SMRP best practices. The maintenance strategist, this came John Day, Alcoa Mount Holly, world-class maintenance model. It said the maintenance vision will be achieved, and you've seen this before, total proactive approach to maintenance based on centralized proactive maintenance planning. This was $1 billion plant. And right now, I've got some people coming to my planning and scheduling class from this plant now, you know, very soon, which looking forward to it. And decentralized proactive maintenance plan, centralized proactive plan. In other words, they're together. They don't sit in the office with the maintenance supervisor, you know, and decentralized execution of the work. 7 ways. Now we get to the money time. Okay. 7 ways to make maintenance planning and scheduling more effective. Okay. 1, you need to have knowledge of known best practices through formal training. And some of you that have been through the training with me this past week, you know that, because we got to know how everything syncs together. Maintenance planners and maintenance supervisors should be trained in a formal planning and scheduling process. They need to be trained in it. Not just planners. Maintenance supervisors should be trained so they understand it. Assess the maintenance planning and scheduling process. How well are we doing? Where are we? There's plenty. If you can look online, you can Google and find assessments. You can probably go on my website and find an maintenance assessment that you can go through and use. But assess where you're at. Perform a wrench time study. Okay, so here's one. The categories of wrench time. All you have to do is walk around and make categories up like you see someone traveling. Okay, so let's go back up to the wrench time. Okay, so see, traveling point A to B. So we see someone traveling. Okay, we put a tick on it. Okay, looking for parts, looking for tools, looking for information, looking for production, and so on. So if you see people doing those things, I tried to create an app with that, and it didn't go very well. Nobody saw the value in it. I do. Okay. So we want to gain knowledge through formal training. Maintenance planners and schedulers should be trained formal planning and scheduling. Assess the planning and scheduling process. Perform a wrench time study. Okay, you can do that with technicians. Best ones to use that for. And if you want some ideas on it, you can send me an email and I'll give you some ideas how to create that. Create proactive maintenance process maps. If you don't have a process map for maintenance, you're going to have to create them. Okay. And then define roles and responsibilities in planning and scheduling. Everybody in planning and scheduling has got their own thing. That's not my job. I wasn't assigned to do that. Well, we're going to show you how to make that happen. And then create a maintenance KPI scorecard, because planning and scheduling makes a serious impact on the maintenance scorecard. Okay. So number 1, gain knowledge of known maintenance best practices through formal training. Sources of maintenance best practices training: live, virtual. There's a lot of people out there to do it. This is one that I taught this week. Why not? No matter, I'd say probably 30% of the people in my class this week. I live in South Carolina. These guys, a lot of them from Africa. We even one from the Philippines. But make sure you get into understanding maintenance best practices. Okay. Webinars. These webinars like this one this week. Every week you should try to follow me on it. If you can't, you'll get a copy of the webinar, emailed to you after the session is over. Toolbox talks. If you go to my website, I've got these toolbox talks. They're single point lessons. They're really short. Most of them are just 1 page. Some of them are 2 pages. Okay, but it helps you address some issues that you may have, especially if you've got to train some of your maintenance tech. Maintenance planners and maintenance supervisors should be trained in formal planning and scheduling. Maintenance planners and supervisors definitely make the most impact on increasing wrench time and thus need the same knowledge in planning and scheduling. One team. I mentioned that earlier. Example of objectives. The objective of planning and scheduling workshop: define known best maintenance and reliability practice. What impacts planning and scheduling process? Define the proactive work process. Obtain the ability to execute, proactive maintenance planning and scheduling. Describe the objective, mission, and attributes of proactive planning and scheduling. Plan and schedule through numerous hands-on exercises. If you attend a workshop that doesn't have hands-on exercises, you're going to waste your time. One of my degrees is in education, in industrial education. One of the things they taught me at the university was you got to have people put their hands on something. And if you don't, theory by itself without practicality doesn't work. And that's why I say, if you're going to go to planning, scheduling, training, make sure they have a lot of hands-on exercises. Learn how to measure an organization's current wrench time. Define the methods to optimize maintenance wrench time. Create a proactive maintenance planning and scheduling workflow model, which impacts maintenance wrench time. Create leading and lagging KPI metrics, a dashboard. define how to transition from current state, to a more proactive planning and scheduling process. Because you may have planning and scheduling, but you just got to get out of where you're at and move to that next level. Define how to measure and manage maintenance backlog. Backlog is big. That's how much work we have waiting to schedule. And there's two types of backlog. There's total backlog and ready to schedule backlog. And in your total backlog, you have you'll have the work orders that are waiting parts, or you have status code waiting part, a waiting contractor, and those type stuff. Learn to implement and manage a proactive kitting process, and then gain first steps how to manage change. That's a big deal. Create a master plan with a timeline with proactive planning and scheduling, implementation, and optimization. All right. So number 3, assess the maintenance planning process. Okay. So these are some questions on maintenance planning and scheduling. Just answer yes or no. Okay. Does most of the maintenance work schedule have pre-planned job packages developed for them? All specification, procedures, parts, labor, etc. Says does most, not all, does most have pre-planned job packages? Yes or no?
A couple people saying no so far. Mostly no's. We have a 1 yes and a should. Couple more yeses coming in. I think we're still majority no, but probably about 70% no, 30% yes at this point.
Okay. Does the planner use the maintenance staff to assist in development pre-planned job packages? In other words, like I used to have with my planner, I'd assign a maintenance technician once a week. Each technician get 1 week with the planner, and it went over like 3 months. So one technician be on 1 week for, and then somebody else the next week and the next week. It'd be about 3 months, but it come in the queue again. So does the planner use the maintenance staff to assist in development of pre-planned job packages?
About 50% no, 50% yes so far.
Next, when is a planner scheduler or just a planner performing their day-to-day job, they are never called upon to rush parts or in for a breakdown. So a planner does not get involved in ordering parts that have to be rushed in. True or false in your organization?
Two trues. Yes, should be true. Yes, true, true.
So they're never called on. That's good. That's good. Okay. D. Does your planner identify backlog based on these categories? Ready to schedule, waiting parts, waiting on engineering, waiting to be planned, like that, and it's measured by labor hours and weeks of backlog.
About 50% no, 50% yes so far.
Yeah. Go to the next one. Does the planner validate whether work request is valid or not?
Again, looks like about 50% yes, 50% no. Maybe a few more yeses than no actually coming in.
Does the planner provide feedback to the requester when a work request and notification has been entered into the CMMS EAM? So somebody, has a work request, so they immediately get a notification back from the planner saying, I got it. And it's in the queue. The reason why this is important so we don't keep writing duplicate work orders in the system.
Rick, you cut out there just for a moment. We have about 50% no's and yeses again to F.
Okay. Does the planner visit the job sites of the work to be planned on at least 30% of the job?
Yes, all yeses so far for this one. Oh, we got a no in there, a couple of no's, but mostly yeses.
Wow. They're getting hot on it now. All right. So can the planner check status of planned work parts? So work that's planned, can they make sure what is the status of the parts within 5 minutes or less of any job? So these are jobs that are in the planning queue. Can they check status within 5 minutes or less? How we look?
We have about 50%, 60% no, 40% yes.
Okay. Does the planner validate work requests in 3 days or less?
Mostly yeses coming in. Yeah, I'd say 90% yeses.
Okay. Do you have at least one planner or planner scheduled for every 7 to 25 maintenance personnel?
Yes, all yeses so far. Ooh, a unanimous one. All yeses.
Yeah, if I would have tightened up on this a little bit, it would. All right, good. Can the planner check status of planned parts on the CMMS within 5 minutes or less? Somebody seen that one? Yeah, we already had that one. Never mind. Does the planner validate in 3 days? We already got that one too. All right. Perform a wrench time study. So wrench time study, sometimes referred to as hands-on tool time, is a metric that shows how much time maintenance techs spend with a tool in their hand performing actual maintenance work. So this is a wrench time observation data sheet. You see to the far right, lower right. So I recommend, one option is to hire a maintenance and reliability consulting company to conduct it. Okay. Option two, this is my preferred method. Train 4 people: maintenance tech, maintenance supervisor, planner, and each person randomly walks the floor and objectively identifies what they see. So they should be trained, these 4 people, and then go out and do it. Okay. And the reason why I got 4 should have been 2 maintenance techs, maintenance supervisor and planner, but let them go out and walk the floor, not together, just randomly walk around. Okay. And this should be done once a month. So what you'll see is traveling to and from the workplace, looking for parts and materials, looking for their supervisors, training. They may be in training. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with training. Okay. It's just you need to check the box on it. Okay. Meetings. Okay. And these are meetings. We got training up there. We got meetings. So we have training in technical safety, et cetera. But we have meetings also in training. We have meetings to talk about meetings a lot of time. Work execution, waiting on parts, waiting on someone like production, operator, operator went to break or whatever. Breaks, lunch, heat breaks, etc. You know, we need to make sure that when we're doing this, we're looking for these type things so we can put it down. Then waiting on supervisor, another maintenance person, production, whatever. And then administrative could be union issues, personnel issues, discussion with supervisor about vacation, work orders, so on. The whole thing about performing a wrench time study, it's just knowing where we are to begin with. Okay. And then once you do that, you start improving planning and scheduling. You go back in 6 months and do it again, not in 3 months, not in 2 months, because it's going to take 6 months to get where things are getting a lot better. Then any activity that a maintenance tech has a tool in their hand performing proactive work. Okay. All right. All right. So, if we're looking at wrench time, there's about, if we look at overall, people actually doing the wrench time or conducting one is very rare, very rare. That easy everybody be doing. Create the maintenance process maps. If you have maintenance process maps, great job. So identify steps using a cross-functional team and proactive maintenance. So we got PM, PDM, maintenance planning, maintenance scheduling, work execution, work order closeout, and then failure reporting. Figure out the boundaries. Okay, we got to know what the boundaries are on these to make sure that when we have these in place that we understand, how we're going to be measuring them and how they synchronize together. Determine and sequence the steps in each process. Basic flow charts. We need basic flow chart. I got process mapping symbols up there. Those are typically the ones you would use in this. How many of you have process maps for maintenance?
Um, so far about 50% yes, 50% no.
I only heard 4.
Yeah. Still looking like a 50-50 split. Got a few more responses in. Maybe a few more yeses than nos now.
Okay.
About 60-40. Another couple no's. Back to about 50-50.
The next thing is, once you draw a basic flow chart, you want to finalize it, okay? And you want to do it from start to finish. This one you're talking about, the one I've got on the right, lower right, that's a high level. So on PM, PDM, we should have process map for maintenance planning, maintenance scheduling, work execution, and so on. Even a simple one like work order closeout. We get a new technician that comes in, we should be able to give them a procedure and give them the process map and let them follow that. So here's the maintenance scheduling process map. Step 1, got ready work order listing. We got step 2, we got 30% of our work that's scheduled is on PMs. Step 3, this is the weekly schedule is maintenance season. They're not in a scheduling meeting yet, okay? This is negotiating, okay? Putting together the plan. Step 4, preliminary weekly schedule is production season. And all this is going to be greater than 100%, okay? And then it comes down to step 5, which is the final weekly schedule as negotiated. So 30% PMs, production input priority, maintenance input priority. And there's some common things between maintenance and production. Some of it could be safety meetings or whatever. And then finally goes to the schedule where we publish the schedule. Like I say, on Monday, 7:00 in the morning, bam, go. It's going. Here's a maintenance planning workflow chart. We got the requester, requesting the work. All right. Then the maintenance planner, visit the job sites, determine priority, what kind of craft or trade person it is, what's the target, contractor, parts and material, tools needed, stock item, non-stock, and it goes to the storeroom. Then the parts are kitted, and once it's kitted, execute job plan on the bottom for the swim lane on the maintenance tech, provide feedback to the planner, and so on. Number 6, define roles and responsibility. It's a big one. Defining roles and responsibility. The first one's the stakeholders. If you look at my chart on the maintenance scheduling RACI chart, I didn't put planning, this is scheduling. Okay. So you got the stores manager, maintenance supervisor, maintenance techs, maintenance planners, production manager, plant manager. So we identify the stakeholders, we review the schedule workflow. Okay. So we look at it and identify the maintenance scheduling, the task of maintenance scheduling. And on each one of these steps, like manage asset criticality, because when you plan and schedule, you should determine which ones you schedule first or plan first based on asset criticality and defect severity. Okay, that's called the intercept model. So here we got manage asset criticality, identify ready to schedule work orders, RTS, identify parts availability for scheduled work order, create a preliminary schedule, identify skill requirements, availability, review preliminary schedule with production, manage schedule meeting, publish the schedule, adjust schedule as needed. It's going to be adjusted during the week. It's going to happen in most places. And then manage maintenance that manage the maintenance dashboard, leading and lagging KPIs. How many of you use a RACI chart at all? Defining roles and responsibilities.
More no's than yeses. About 70% no's, 30% yes.
You know, in all my training, I always make sure we do it. Now, the question is asked, do you think you need a RACI chart to align everyone in any of these processes, to get everybody knowing how we work together? Do you think it needs to be a requirement? Yes or no?
All yeses coming in.
I tell you, once I learned this process, it changed my life forever, for sure. Because now we start working together. We don't argue and stuff like that. We know how we're going to work together. Because the A is accountable. That's the buck stops here. That's the one person's only one per line. And then the R is the doers. That can be as many people as possible. Doesn't matter. Consulted, two-way communication, informed one way. No reply expected nor accepted. Okay. That way we know how to work together. All right. Number 7, create maintenance KPI dashboards. Identify the steps in the maintenance process. Identify metric KPI for each step. Educate everyone on how the metrics are critical. You know, and then post the dashboard where everybody can see the score in the game. We need to see that, you know. And I always give this warning, KPI data comes from work order closeout data. The data must be accurate and updated weekly. Remember, that's why the planner is the last one to look at the work order before it's closed out. The maintenance supervisor reviews it, but the planner is the last one sitting calm in the office that can do that. Okay. So on this one, we got PM compliance. I just put a 20% rules. That means if it's a monthly PM, you got 6 days of doing it and you're out of compliance. I like the 10% rule better. It means 3 days. Percentage of plan works, 80%. Stockouts. So the stockouts is a big deal. If we don't have the parts there, we got a problem. 13 stockouts on this one. Schedule compliance by day, by week, 60%. Something's wrong there. Work order close out the specification. How do you do that? Is you randomly, the planner pulls out randomly a few work orders that are closed out for the week and just checks to see if they were closed out accurately or not. And then rework. This is work we have to go back to again. And then failure reporting, analysis, and corrective action system. Here we got 5 RCAs in place, you know, because of the failure reporting. So it seems like it's working. All right. So questions and comments. This is my maintenance planning and scheduling workshop coming up, you know, and Bryant Lodge at Southern Wesleyan University. If you want to come live, this will be a live workshop, but it's also virtual. If you come live, you will, you know, there'll be social distance. It's a big lodge, got a lot of room, a lot of space. So it's not a big deal. It's a beautiful location, but it's a great place for me to broadcast live to the people who are going to be on it on virtual. All right. Any questions?
One question came in. How can we take a class with you, Ricky?
Send me. Oh, I didn't put that on there, did I? Oh, man.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. I just didn't go through the last step. There you go. Brochure at worldclassmaintenance.org, or you can email me. Either one. And Heather will be the one that probably be registering you if you decide to come.
That's right. No
any
questions came in. No other questions came in so far. I'll pause for a moment here if anyone else has any other questions about our topic today. Feel free to send them in the chat or in the questions tab, and we'll answer them now. Brian asked as well, do you have any other classes? I believe the answer is yes, and you can find all of those available at worldclassmaintenance.org.
Yeah, got a lot of classes coming up. Got one public class every month for the year, and that's the way I do it normally. And then between those, I do private sessions. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Feel free to reach out on Slack or send Ricky an email if you have any further questions. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend. I will see you all next time.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.